We meet again, unless this is the first time we are meeting, in which case, hello, it is I, Josh Bloom of the Josh Bloom Podcast, the #1 podcast for those who are interested in this particular Josh Bloom, which is myself. I am writing this rather late in the day on Friday because my cousin was visiting New York from Portland, and I chose to go and have coffee and lunch with him. Yes, this is a real cousin. Please don't start thinking, oh sure, Josh doesn't leave the house. He doesn't have a cousin. Well, look, you already know I leave the house because I have written to you before from the P. And as far as actually having a cousin, you cannot possibly believe that I would make up that my mother had sisters and one of those sisters had children. That is some fetch that goes way too far. My cousin has about 15 years on me, and with that extra life experience comes extra wisdom, and he taught me a few things today about our family that helped me understand myself better, and I appreciate him for that. Now, I know you are just thinking, oh Josh, we know there is no cousin, and now you are elaborating on the content of the conversation just to make us believe that you left the house and had coffee and lunch with another human being. I am not going to get offended if you are thinking that, because I don't want the good time I had with my actual cousin, who totally exists, to be ruined by negativity. We had coffee and lunch, and I would say I have the receipt to prove it if he hadn't paid. I explained last week that I was not able to see and review the Ari Aster film Eddington because it closed too fast, and when one movie curtain closes, another opens, because this weekend the new Spike Lee film starring Denzel Washington opens, and I am going to try again. I have a gift certificate to spend that I have been holding on to since February and have not seen a movie since January. You can visit Substack for my crazy-ass long piece about The Brutalist, which includes a come see with me video where you get to hear me bitch and moan like I like to do. Wish me luck that I make it to the Jacob Burns Film Center to see Highest to Lowest by Spike Lee. I am kinda psyched. Also, I am very excited to say that my editor gave me feedback about my book that was very inspiring. Not because I felt a sense of accomplishment like, oh wow, I'm a decent writer, but in a more practical way. I want this book to educate and entertain, and it seems to have done both. Now we are into the editing process, which is a whole other challenge unto itself, but nothing will ever touch the experience of having my entire life, psyche, and soul consumed while writing my first book. I am already learning so much in the editing process, and I can't wait to see how all of this affects my writing and my potential writing career going forward. As usual, more book news soon, including soliciting your pre-order. By the way, if you are still wondering if my cousin is a real person, let me remind you that he was gracious enough to pay for my coffee and lunch, and since you know from my embarrassing confession about spending $1.08 at the P for lunch last week that I am in a state of self-poverty, then you know that I would never speak about my freeloading ways unless I was way into some freeloading. I at least had the decency to stick to my usual rule of asking 3 times when someone offers to pay. My cousin clearly supports my freeloading. He is a gem among men. You too can do like my cousin and buy me a coffee by simply going over to Buy Me a Coffee. That's buymeacoffee.com/Josh Bloom. I would be eternally grateful, or to be honest, 30 to 40 minutes grateful, which is kind of a lot of gratitude for $3. In fact, what you're really buying is my gratitude. So we're talking less than $1 per 10 minutes of gratitude, which, wow, that's pretty damn fantastic, don't you think? Please do not steal the idea of buy me some gratitude. I kind of think I'm onto something with that, and I don't want to explore the meta aspects of someone stealing the idea of buy me some gratitude and how that will affect my ability to be full of great in the future. Just buy me a coffee, okay? This is episode number 44 of the Josh Bloom Really Does Have a Cousin who really did buy Josh a coffee and a gyro, and then his cousin also ordered a gyro for himself, and Josh took home his cousin's leftover gyro dressing with that hard-to-say Greek name podcast, which our purple-haired waitress knows as the Josh Bloom Podcast. It is the latest edition of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration, days 201 to 207. As I explained earlier, I will be seeing the new Spike Lee movie tomorrow, thanks to a gift certificate. So please, certify your gift to me by subscribing to my Substack, and you will receive my in-depth review. It'll be fun, I swear. This week on the show, stay tuned to hear about the big Russian stuck in the mobile order window. But first, on day 201, I reminisce about seeing the South Park movie 26 years ago, congratulate the South Park guys on another stellar takedown of the Trump administration, and unfortunately drop the news that this latest takedown won't matter. And it doesn't matter that it won't matter, because what matters is you, what matters is me, what matters is freeloading coffee and gyro sandwiches with your family. We will never let the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration take that away from us. Of course, I mentioned Prince, and I really crowbar it in this time. You'll see. On day 202, I let you in on my Saturday morning spent driving around to 3 grocery stores because I am so frugal. Remember my real cousin paying for my coffee and gyro sandwich, that I needed to get the best deals on my grocery list. But what inspired today's video was not the shopping, it was the lack of shoppers. The stores were all creepy because they were all empty. What does this have to do with Pink Floyd besides being creepy? I will talk about it, so please listen to me talking about it. On day 203, I compare the positive messages in the songs Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves and Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit as it relates to the aforementioned book that I have written and am now editing. I went through a lot of negative thoughts and feelings during this project, and I share how I took that energy and made it work for me. I don't charge you any extra than free for this advice, but you could pay $3 for 30 to 40 minutes of gratitude. Wow, what a bargain. On day 204, I finally ask the question at the heart of every internet post about what is happening to the nation under the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration. What do I do? I find that almost all of the rhetoric I encounter online is full of information and speculation, even from people I admire and trust, but no one seems to be able to tell me what to do about it. At least I found a way to recall the scene in Animal House where John Belushi eats an entire hamburger in one bite on the cafeteria line. I always admired that. On day 205, we partake in a celebration that you should be used to by now as we hit 14%, yes, 14% completion of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. Also, as usual, I remind us all that Kamala Harris only lost by 1%. The leader of the Trump Administration didn't even receive 50%, and my mindful, optimistic, and hopeful attitude, which sometimes wavers, still remains at 100% when it comes to believing that we will survive the Trump administration and be better for it. Most people are good, and most people want to be left alone. Let's be good, and let's be left alone. Speaking of left alone, on day 206, I have to report some news, and that is that a senator from Utah wants to federally ban porn. If there is one thing that will make all citizens of all political persuasions revolt, that would be it. The main point I make, however, is in speculation about the sexuality of a person who would introduce such a bill. I encourage meddling, miserable meatheads like this to either live life or end it. Please do one or the other. Finally, on day 207, a white gay Jew, an ample-bellied loud Russian, and a petite, friendly Asian woman walk into a McDonald's. You'll want to stick around for this one. It is a slice of life in America that I experienced firsthand and gave me a great feeling about what is actually happening in real life in our nation. When you are enjoying each other without the constant negativity of the internet, it is easy to ignore the Trump administration. Please go over to my YouTube channel to watch a compilation of all of this week's daily TikTok posts. A link is in the show notes. You will see my smiling face as depicted in the local McDonald's per the video from day 207 as just described. While you are there, please subscribe. I would really appreciate that because that's how this works. I make content and you subscribe to it. That is the relationship we have bargained for. You can also reach all of my social media by visiting superjews.com. That's superjews.com. Thanks as always for listening, and now let's get into 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. By the way, in case you are still wondering, I just posted a TikTok from the diner where my cousin and I had lunch, and you can hear him laughing in the background, and that is not the laugh of a paid actor who I paid to portray Josh's laughing cousin. I think I have said enough about this now. I will be back shortly. Day 201 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. I am not a self-help guru. I was dreaming when I wrote this. I'm just trying to help myself. I remember when the South Park movie was released in 1999. They say 2000 party over. Oops. Out of time. That is, of course, the lyrics to the song 1999 by Prince, which has nothing to do with what I want to tell you today, but it is a chance to mention Prince, and I will always do that. Anyway, when me and my friends saw the South Park movie, the laughter in the theater was so hysterical that we missed most of the jokes. It is 26 years later, and I still find South Park hysterical. The first two episodes of this season of South Park that have been takedowns on the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration are glorious. Now that I have said all that, I have to unfortunately add that it won't matter. Beyond making us laugh, it won't matter. Laughter during times like these is more important than ever, but as a tool to get to the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration, South Park won't matter. Even though the leader of the Trump administration is thin-skinned and everyone in the Trump administration is thin-skinned, the reason they have the ambition to achieve the positions they have achieved is because they want the power to make the lives of those who they perceive as attacking their thin skin miserable. Again, it is great that South Park is doing this, and it does make them angry and embarrassed, but unfortunately it serves as a distraction, and they know it because they are aware, as bullies are, that while we're busy looking over here and feeling as if we've gained something by making fun of them, they can go about what they need to go about to undermine our mindfulness, our optimism, and our hope in order to satisfy their craving for cruelty. They want to control us until their dying days because that is what thin-skinned bullies do. They are not interested in bettering themselves. They are interested in destabilizing us. I love South Park. I think it's too bad that it really won't matter and we are going to have to continue to tolerate the bullying, but we will be stronger, happier, and better for it. It is said that the best revenge is a life well lived, so live well as a form of retaliation. Live well and ignore the Trump administration. Day 202 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. I went to 3 grocery stores around town this morning just to buy 1 bag of groceries. You know, groceries, that word that the leader of the Trump administration has never heard of. I know his maids growing up have heard of it. I did this because I'm just trying to save a buck. And unfortunately, the products I was trying to save a buck on were sold out. So clearly, I'm not the only one trying to save a buck. You know how Pink Floyd sings Money Get Away? Well, I sing Money Got Away. I don't know why they sing Get Away anyway. Wouldn't you sing Money Come On Over Here? But anyway, all 3 of these grocery stores, I'm talking Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m., all 3 of these grocery stores were very empty. And I'm not talking about products, I'm talking about people. Very empty. And it gave me the creeps. It felt like people just aren't spending money. And it also felt like something that, unlike the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration, I cannot ignore. And that is bad vibes. When you have policies in place that are being carried out by overly aggressive masked officers showing up as vigilantes, scaring law-abiding citizens, and ripping people away from their families as a normal course of business in America, you create bad vibes that permeate the atmosphere. Now, I know some of you will say, but Barack Obama and Joe Biden, they deported people too. Of course they did. Deportation is a policy. The difference is Barack Obama and Joe Biden didn't publicly display personal pleasure from enforcing these policies. They didn't get off on it. If anything, they enforce these policies regrettably and while providing the possibility of deportees being given a pathway to citizenship. But even if they hadn't done that, the main difference is that neither of these men took pleasure from other people's pain like the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration do. This is what causes people to feel uneasy. And when people feel uneasy, they feel unsafe. And when people feel unsafe, they stay home. And I have a feeling a lot of those people who are staying home will be locking the doors when they stay at home. And soon after they're done locking those doors, they will be getting strapped behind those doors. But for now, I bought my generic jug of window cleaner refill that was more expensive due to inflation. Thanks for the reminder to ignore the Trump administration. Day 203 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Would you like to hear a negative rant today? Well, I had a negative rant ready to go. I just didn't feel like posting negativity today. I felt like posting positivity instead. I'll save the negative rant for during the week when we're all mad about having to be back at work. Don't get me wrong, this isn't positive like Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves, although that is a very fun song. It's more like Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit, which may seem like a negative song, but I personally find it motivating. I feel like publishing a purely positive post today because I am feeling that way. I have spent the past year researching and writing a book. It is not a political book. It is a nonfiction book. It is a band biography. I will be telling you more about it soon. But let's just say if you are into the indie rock world, then you will likely be aware of what I wrote about. It is not that I finished the manuscript that is contributing to this positive feeling. It is the fact that during the time I was writing this manuscript, there were many days that I was scared shitless because I had committed to do this, signed a contract, and received an advance, and felt like, oh my God, I do not know what I am doing, and I do not know if I have the work ethic, energy, or intelligence to keep this information and narrative contained within my brain to be able to tell a story that makes any sense or honors my subject. Pushing past that is what makes me feel this sense of accomplishment. And that is what I am sharing with you today, because it doesn't matter if it's a book you're writing, if it's a child you're raising, if it's a house you're cleaning, if it's a race you're running, whatever it is, the moment when you feel like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? That is the moment that you can flip the intensity of that negative energy and use it to get you to the end of the book you're writing, the house you're cleaning, the race you're running, or the child you're raising, provided they haven't already gone to jail. Even if they do go to jail, maybe the leader of the Trump administration will pardon them or him or her if your child is still allowed by law to choose their pronouns. You see, by making fun of the leader of the Trump administration today, I have also completed that task. Isn't that worthy of admiration? Tomorrow, I will get back to managing negativity as we continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 204 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. My name is Josh Bloom. I'm just trying to help myself. What do you want me to do? Listen, with the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration announcing today that they are federalizing the DC police and bringing in the National Guard because they say there is rampant crime when there is not, I am seeing creators on social media, armchair reporters, if you will. And granted, maybe it is my algorithm feeding them to me because I do follow a few who I respect and believe their hearts are in the right place, but it causes me to question. When I hear messages like, this is just the beginning, we told you so, get ready to lose your freedom, this type of talk, and I'm not saying it's wrong because maybe it's true, but my question is, what next? What are we supposed to do with this information? Because I see this information coming out from, again, creators I respect who are clearly intelligent people, people with knowledge of historical precedent that, frankly, I do not have the same extensive knowledge of. You know that song that plays in that one scene in the movie Animal House where John Belushi as Bluto is stuffing his face full of food on the cafeteria line, and the lyrics are "Don't know much about history"? That's me, including the stuffing my face part. Even if I did have that knowledge, I might not have the intelligence to comprehend it. But what I am saying, as maybe a completely stupid guy, maybe a guy with just a lower IQ than some of the people I am willing to listen to because I respect their intelligence, what next? What are we supposed to do? Give up our life to go protest? Tell me, jump off a roof, draw the shades, and cry? What should I do with this information? Every day I get comments, you're not ignoring the Trump administration, from people who don't get the concept. This is a philosophical concept, which means don't let every bit of news occupy your thoughts, which brings me back to the question. If we are supposed to be constantly reacting, when are we living? We must live while we're alive. That's all I'm saying. So please, tell me, what am I supposed to do with this information? Leave your answer in the comments. I will be here ignoring the Trump administration. Day 205 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Here's some good news for today. You're alive. There it is. That's it. Ignore the Trump administration. Thanks. Really, though, here's some good news for today. You're alive. I was serious. Here's some good news for today. Huey Lewis and the news. He's alive and you're alive. Okay? Listen, Today is another milestone because today, on day 205 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration, we are officially 14% through the final term of the leader of the Trump administration. Now, I know it has been circulating. There won't be elections, martial law. We're all going to be put in camps. These are legitimate fears, and there are many more. There is historical precedence. This country was founded and built in disgusting circumstances, but we have improved. I keep reminding that Kamala Harris only lost by 1% of the vote, and Donald Trump, also known as the leader of the Trump administration, didn't even get 50%. What this tells us is that the people who get off their ass and actually voted in very large numbers for the black woman with the crazy laugh. And if that is not progress, I do not know what is, because the black woman with the crazy laugh could not vote at all in 1964, just 8 years before I was born. We are generally good people, but unfortunately, social media shows us the worst people, and not just on the right, it shows us pretty bad people on the left too. The majority of people are good. The majority of people want to be good. The majority of people also just want to be left the fuck alone. We are in an unfortunate circumstance that we elected a lunatic, and the second time around, this lunatic is like, hey, last time I didn't get to do my lunaticking in the way I like to lunatic. So this second time around, I'm definitely going to lunatic just how I love to lunatic. And that is what he is doing. I've also heard that the leader of the Trump administration is just a puppet, and the billionaire backers of J.D. Vance are seeking to take over the country and the world and turn us all into drooling AI-controlled zombies. Maybe. I don't have anything against being worried, being scared, or being concerned. Nothing against that at all. But what I do advocate for is enjoying the fact that we are 14% through 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. And that is very good for our nation, because there will come a time when we will station someone in that White House who will take down all that gold and scrape off all that mold, because you know what is going on with that. And we will have a leader who is more tuned into more of the population. But for now, we must be mindful, optimistic, and hopeful, and continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 206 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru, and I'm not a certified lover boy either. I'm just trying to help myself. Do you know about the bill to ban PORN? Senator Mike Lee of Utah, a loyal supporter of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration, is the same age as me. Not one of these dudes born in the 1800s. He is introducing a bill to federally ban PORN. Now, day 206 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump administration is not about this insane bill specifically. It is about, as usual, what motivates someone to introduce such a bill. It could be a bill about federally banning smelling flowers. But people like this aren't afraid of flowers. But they are afraid of their sexuality. People who introduce legislation like this hate life. Specifically, they hate their life. Specifically, they hate their life because they are too cowardly to either live it or end it, and instead would like to end ours, and specifically to end our joyful experience of life, and specifically to end our joyful experience of life as it relates to what scares them, which is sex. Only a person who hates life would want to spend it trying to control, oppress, and undermine the happiness of someone else. Because what is the end game? Do we actually believe that Senator Mike Lee would not move on to introduce more legislation that bans pleasure? Of course not. For these people, it is about continually trying to exert pressure and control on other people. Behaving this way is the only pleasure someone like this gets out of life. Their pleasure is derived from trying to make other people's lives miserable. That is where someone like this gets their pleasure from. I am not trying to inform you about this bill or this senator or this issue specifically. I am simply reminding myself and reminding you that we must acknowledge them, understand what motivates them, and then ignore them because people like this will always exist among us and we need to duck and weave. As Kendrick Lamar so eloquently stated, they not like us. So please make the observation and then proceed directly to ignoring the Trump administration. Day 207 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself, right? Right. Just a report today from the actual streets of America where it is good, in my experience, as opposed to what you might see on the internet. Where was I? I was in the most common place a person could be, a McDonald's. I was doing my laundry and I decided to go over there because I had a buy one, get one coupon. As I got myself the cheapest McMuffin they make, I saw America. I saw a gentleman speaking Russian very, very loudly into his phone. He didn't seem angry, he was just very loud. I knew it was Russian because I dated a Russian. This man at Mickey D had a very, very ample midsection that reminded me of the comic book guy from The Simpsons, which made it very funny when he put most of his body through the mobile order pickup window as he was waiting for his food. I caught the glance of one of the workers, an Asian woman, and we laughed because he was so loud and was putting his very large body through the window. And I'm only saying very large body because I need to illustrate the point I'm making. This is not body shaming. I used to weigh close to 400 pounds. Scroll back, I made a lot of videos about it. He was putting his body so far into the mobile window, I think she and I both thought he might get stuck there. As she and I shared this laugh, he removed himself from the window and slowly reached for her arm. He didn't try to grab her. He was seeing if she would let him lead her somewhere. She let him lead her over to a display where Happy Meal toys were because apparently he was talking to his child on the phone and wanted the worker to tell him if the toys the child wanted were available. Then he convinced her to speak to the child directly on the phone. It was very cute. And as she walked back, I joked, he should be paying you for that. And she laughed. And then he looked at me, not incredulously, not like mind your business. So I joked to him, this is America. No pictures for free. Get out your wallet. You know what? The man got out his wallet as suggested. The reason I pointed out this man was an ample-bellied Russian, the worker was a pleasant, accommodating Asian woman, and the reporter, me, is a white, gay Jew, is only to illustrate that the internet is not real life. Real life is real life. Real life is real life where many people who are different will arrive in a suburban McDonald's and can be found there living their day and having fun with one another like it could never be better than it is. This is the kind of information about the population that we can keep in mind while ignoring the Trump administration.
Hey, it's Josh. Wasn't that story of the big belly Russian almost getting stuck in the mobile order window crazy? It actually turned out so sweet. I love it when various people from different walks of life find each other for a moment and share a common understanding and a laugh. We are going to be better for getting through 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I really believe that. By the way, last week I mentioned the deep cleaning of my apartment that I am doing after neglecting it while writing the book. I am not done yet, but it has been some of the most amazing workout hours I have ever experienced. Gyms don't tell you to just clean the house because then they wouldn't get paid. But I'm telling you, just clean the house. Thanks again for listening. Please leave a 5-star rating for the Josh Bloom podcast in your podcast app and leave a comment saying that you like the show. Don't forget to follow. And this week, we are returning to you telling a friend about the show. How about saying something like, hey, this guy Josh Bloom is so desperate to get you to listen to his podcast that he made up a cousin who met with him for coffee and a gyro sandwich at the diner, and he went as far as to claim that he took home his cousin's leftover gyro dressing with the hard-to-pronounce Greek name just to give enough detail to make the lie believable. Since he went through all that, I thought I should tell you about his podcast. Lastly, visit me everywhere for everything by going to superjews.com. That's superjerjews.com for links to all of my social media, and visit superjews.substack.com to subscribe to my Substack, which contains all of my long-form writing. Subscriptions are free, or for a small monthly donation, you can support my work. It helps a lot. Thanks again for listening. I will see you next week.